Okay, Dunstan, take it slow and tell me what you see. Dunstan reached for the shoe, but his hand shook a little. The little sneaker looked like someone had pulled it out of a waterlogged ditch, and it looked like it might fit a toddler. Dunstan had seen a lot of terrible things in the time he'd been here, and he wasn't sure he wanted to add any more to the long list of things that lived rent-free in his head. It was weird, though. He couldn't remember a lot of them, just how they had made him feel at the time. They'd made him feel small and hopeless, but the doctor had taken that away from him, and he was glad. They had haunted his dreams when he reached for them, but now he felt half full. It was like something was missing. It was harder to define. It reminded him of poking his tongue into a hole where a tooth had been. He knew there had been a tooth there once, but now it was gone, and maybe he sometimes wondered where that tooth had went to and why it had left at all. Dunstan, are you okay? Dunstan nodded. Just a little scared. I never know what I'm gonna see, but it's rarely nice. Life is rarely nice, Dunstan. Best to get those thoughts out of the way right up front. The world is unkind to people like us, Dunstan, so we have to help where we can. Let's continue. We have to make sure you're ready for midterms tomorrow. Dunstan sighed, putting 2 fingers on the shoe as he let the waves of memory flood over him. He's 2. God, he's barely out of diapers. He's playing by the creek. His father is fishing not far away. The creek is deep. It's up to the dad's knees, and he's a big fella. The kid sees a frog. He goes after it, and he chases it a ways. You can hear the reel clicking, and the kid knows his da has a big catch on the line. He chases the frog down the stream. It's a big one, too, and he's running along the edge, and Dunstan shuddered, goose flesh prickling on his arm. He fell in. God, he was gone in a second. He bobbed up just long enough to get a breath, and then he was back under again. He came up again. The stream took him quick, though. I don't even think his father knew he was gone. He was dead. He was dead before he could take a third breath. He never surfaced again. He drowned, and he tried to yell for his mother as he... Dunstan took his hand off the shoe and wiped his eyes as he tried to forget the way the kid had wanted his mother to save him. Dunstan had never had a mother. Never had anyone really to look after him. He had Mary, he supposed, but she wasn't his mom. She would find someone else to worry about. Had probably found someone else already. And that was the difference. Somewhere there was a mother who was hoping against hope that the owner of that little shoe would come back someday. Dunstan was going to ruin those hopes. I hate it sometimes. I hate what I am. The little hand patted his. We all serve as we must. I know it brings sadness, but you bring closure to those who may not have it otherwise. You've helped people, Dunstan. Don't doubt that. Dunstan tried to smile, but he just couldn't do it. There's something I want you to do for me, Dr. Hammarskjöld said. It's not part of the curriculum, you understand, but I was wondering if you could do me this small favor. It would bring me some comfort, if nothing else. Dunstan looked down at the thing in his hand and had to swallow the sawdust in his throat. It was a pen, a fancy pen, and it reminded him of the one he'd owned once upon a time. Whose is it? Dunstan asked. I'd prefer not to say, the little man said, looking far away, and I would prefer if you didn't talk to people about it either. Just tell me what you see. Don't hold anything back. Dunstan took a deep breath and reached for the pen. He saw the girl as she took her first step. She walked shakily, the woman in front of her smiling as she spread her arms out to catch her. She was laughing as she walked, the woman crying as she called her name again and again. The girl was waving next, walking into kindergarten as her mother cried again and left. He saw her as she rose through school, like a shooting star. She had friends. She excelled. She was loved, and she loved others. She graduated high school, went to college, opened her own psychiatry practice. She never knew her father, something she always wished that she had, but something that her mother would never give her. Someone had gotten this pin on his request, and Dunstan believed he knew why. It's your daughter, Dunstan said, his breath coming in slow gasps. Yes, Dr. Hammarskjöld said, after a few seconds. A fling from college, who kindled. She was my first and only love, but I knew better than to have children they could use against me. How is she? Please, tell me what you saw. Dunstan spent some time telling him about the life of a daughter he would never see, and who would be safer for never knowing him. Rebecca came into the little room when her number was called. She didn't like it. This was where the little doctor took the kids he worked with, and she didn't want to work with him. She hated him, and if he came into the room, she couldn't exactly be trusted not to put her hands on him. Rebecca, take a seat, said a woman over the loudspeaker. It wasn't Dr. Hammarskjöld, it was the woman who helped their teacher sometimes. Rebecca took a seat on the doctor's table in the middle of the room and got ready for whatever was expected of her. Lay down and get comfortable. Today's exercise is going to test your dream-telling ability. We want a good reading, so please tell us everything you see while under. Can you do that? Yes, Rebecca said. Dreaming for her wasn't much like it was for other people. Other people rarely remembered what they dreamed, but Rebecca remembered them all. She had to. That was her gift. It was her curse. Just lay back and relax, get comfortable, and be at ease. Rebecca lay down and tried to quiet her mind, but it was difficult to get comfortable when commanded to. Ditto for sleeping. She was expectant and nervous. What if she couldn't do it? What if all this was in vain? What if, once you reach 10, you may begin? Her skin went cold. It was him. He was here, and he was attempting to use his power on her. Despite herself, she was getting sleepy. She felt a yawn coming on, and even knowing what he was doing wouldn't save her from it. She knew what was going on, but despite the yawn building, she repeated the next part to him out of reflex. Once you reach 9, you'll enter a relaxed state of mind, she whispered, but still, he must have heard. Once you reach 8, you'll be feeling great, his voice intoned, and Rebecca felt her eyes grow heavy. She wanted to talk about how unfair this was and about how this wasn't right, but instead, she read the next part from memory. Once you reach 7, you'll be floating in heaven. Rebecca fought against it, but she knew it was in vain. Her eyes were getting heavy, and her words, his words, were flowing out without her command. She was entering that receptive state that the doctor had always placed her in, and she was worried that this time she might not come back. Who Who was to say what might happen this time? Would he kill her? Surely not. She was a government asset now. But who was to say that she wouldn't wake up looking as goofy and rattled as Dunstan did almost every day? She knew what Dr. Hammarskjöld was doing to him. It was the same thing that he had done to her. He made him forget, but it was what he was forgetting that she wasn't sure about. Once you reach 6, there are no conflicts, he crooned, waiting for her to go on. No, she moaned, shaking her head. No, you can't make me. Once you reach 6, there are no conflicts, he said slowly and dreamily this time, really worming his way in. Rebecca tried to fight him, but she just wasn't strong enough. Once you reach 5, your problems take a dive. The words burst out like she'd been holding her breath, and the return cadence sounded relieved. Once you reach 4, it's time to snore. Rebecca felt it coming on strong. The yawn that slipped out made her sick. Once you reach 3, you'll find your reprieve. She wanted to fight, but God, she was so tired, so exhausted. Once you reach 2, it's all up to you. She was drifting already, and those last words followed her down into sleep. Once you get to 1, it's over and done. She was floating in that black void as she waited for what dreams might come. Rebecca, can you hear me, sweetie? It was Mrs. Lloyd now, and that was fine. It would only be a nightmare if the little doctor had tried to speak to her. Yes, Rebecca said, her voice echoing in her head. What do you see? Nothing yet. It's just darkness. Is there anything? Anything at all that you can tell us about? There's something. It's just... Wait. It's starting to appear. I'm in the kindergarten. I'm floating above it, like I sometimes do in my dreams. I can see kids walking around, but they're walking very slowly. I can see them like they're moving underwater. They don't seem happy. They seem scared or upset, like people at a funeral. Good, good. What else do you see? There are 2 coffins in the cafeteria. One is big and one is small. There are people sitting in the cafeteria. There are people sitting in the cafeteria. They're looking at the coffins. There's 2 people in the cafeteria that have something on them. Something? Can you be more specific, dear? I think it's blood. One of them is Ryan. His forehead is covered in blood, and so are his hands. The other one, oh God, it's Masha. Not Masha. She's just a little girl. No, not Masha. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't mean to. Describe it to us, Mrs. Lloyd was saying, but Rebecca couldn't. She was screaming and flailing, her breath hitching in and out like she was having an asthma attack. Rebecca felt like she was dying, and then she felt sure of it as the voice of the little doctor fell over her again. Rebecca, it's okay. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Heart rate slow. Anxiety fall. Nerves unclench. Back to base. Rebecca suddenly felt like a knot that's come undone in a rope. Her whole body was unbound. Her nerves and anxiety seemed to return to normal. It was like someone had rebooted her. Rebecca lay back as the peace flooded through her. But even then, there was that quiet voice that whispered that she'd not calmed herself. This was his doing, and she shouldn't go so quietly into it. She was drifting off into quiet sleep now, but still that voice harangued her. She would fight harder next time, Rebecca promised. Next time. Well, that was close, Miss Lloyd said, expelling a mouthful of cigarette smoke as she did. Dr. Hammarskjöld wrinkled his nose at the smell. I wish you wouldn't do that in close quarters. Miss Lloyd shrugged. When else am I supposed to smoke? These personal sessions today are eating into my smoke breaks. What happened there at Hammarskjöld? Is she actually seeing the future, or is she just making it up? The sight wouldn't have snatched her if she was faking, and her brain activity certainly reads as if she's seeing something. I think she's developing some kind of projecting ability, too. Nighttime indicators have brought back readings of her sending in her sleep. I think she's traveling while she's sleeping. Mrs. Lloyd coughed on a lungful of smoke at that. Is that safe? She might stumble across things best left unseen if she goes snooping. Dr. Hammarskjöld doubted it, but it was a definite concern. I think it's still too soon for her to know what she's doing, but it will need watching. The security chief isn't going to like it, Miss Lloyd said, as she fished out another tar-more and lit the end. When does he ever? Dr. Hammarskjöld asked, and Miss Lloyd only nodded. Sorry to make you wait. It's a red-letter day for the blue band class. Gerald was following at a respectful distance behind Dr. Hammarskjöld as he led him to the new test. This one is one of my most devious tests yet. It will be a true test of your power, and I hope it will give us an adequate measure of it. He hadn't noticed that Gerald had stopped yet. He just kept walking and blabbering as Gerald stared at the door. It was unassuming enough, just a door like any other, but when he glanced down, a strange thing happened. Underneath the door, like a pair of roots from a tree, were a pair of strings. There was a blue one and a black one, and they had never sat so closely together. The black string was death. It always had been. But the blue string was his GPS. It led him through life like a magic fairy, and it had never failed to keep him safe. Now it appeared to be leading him to death, and that was confusing. It had never done that before, not once, and it had never occurred to Gerald that death might be the destination of his life. Gerald had never honestly thought of the final destination for his life, but he supposed he would die one day. There were worse things than dying, after all. He lived with people who did not seem to value his life, people who would be happy to take it from him. And surely living like that was worse. This was confusing as well, though. Something the matter? Dr. Hammarskjöld asked. What's beyond that door? Bluebeard's 7 other wives, Dr. Hammarskjöld intoned. And when Gerald looked at him like he was crazy, the little doctor giggled. Administrative hallway boy, nothing else. Gerald reached a trembling hand out for the handle, but Dr. Hammarskjöld gently covered it with his and pulled it back. Best not to. The security chief would be angry if a student went down there. Come. We have things to do before midterms tomorrow. They headed for whatever the little doctor had set up, but Gerald cast another look over his shoulder as they walked away. There was something important behind that door, and Gerald meant to find out what.